The conference room fell silent as Marcus Williams threw the divorce papers across the mahogany table. The sound of paper hitting wood echoed like a gunshot through the corporate boardroom of Williams Industries. Kendra sat frozen, her hands trembling as she stared at the legal documents that would end her 5-year marriage. "I can't do this anymore, Kendra," Marcus said, his voice cold and distant. "Look at yourself. When we got married, you were different. You were smaller." The words hit her like a physical blow. Around the table, the board members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. This was supposed to be a routine meeting about quarterly reports, not the public destruction of a marriage. But Marcus had planned it this way. He wanted witnesses. He wanted her humiliated. "You're embarrassing me," he continued, adjusting his expensive watch. "At events, at dinners, everywhere we go. People look at you and then they look at me and I can see what they're thinking. How did Marcus Williams end up with someone like that?" Kendra's throat felt tight. She had gained weight over the years, yes. The stress of trying to fit into his world, the pressure of being the perfect billionaire's wife, the endless social events where she felt like an outsider, all of it had taken its toll. Food had become her comfort, her escape from a marriage that had slowly turned into a prison. "Marcus, please," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "We can work this out. I can dash." "You can what?" He laughed, a harsh sound that made several board members look away. "Join another gym? Try another diet? I've heard it all before, Kendra. I'm done waiting for you to become the woman I thought I married." The woman sitting at the far end of the table, slim, blonde, wearing a designer suit that probably cost more than most people's cars, smiled slightly. Kendra recognized her immediately. Victoria Hayes, the new marketing director. 25 years old, MBA from Harvard, and apparently Marcus's new obsession. "The lawyers will be in touch," Marcus said, gathering his papers. "You'll get what the prenup allows. That should be more than enough for someone like you." "Someone like you." The words burned in Kendra's chest. She had been someone once. Before Marcus, she had been an assistant manager at a small tech company, working her way up, making her own money, proud of what she had built. But 5 years of being told she wasn't smart enough for business, wasn't sophisticated enough for his world, wasn't thin enough for his image, it had broken something inside her. As the board members filed out, avoiding eye contact, Kendra remained seated. The papers lay scattered in front of her, official stamps and signatures that reduced 5 years of her life to a few paragraphs about asset division and alimony termination dates. Victoria was the last to leave, pausing at the door. "Don't take it personally," she said, her voice sickeningly sweet. "Men like Marcus need partners who enhance their image. You understand." Kendra finally looked up, meeting Victoria's cold blue eyes. "I understand more than you think." After everyone left, Kendra sat alone in the massive conference room. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, she could see the city stretching out below. Somewhere down there was the small apartment she had lived in before Marcus. Somewhere down there was the woman she used to be. She picked up one of the divorce papers, reading the legal language that painted her as nothing more than a financial liability. Spousal support, minimal. Property rights, limited to personal items. Business interests, none. But as she read further, something caught her eye. A small clause about stock options from her old job, stock that Marcus's lawyers had apparently overlooked because they seemed so worthless 5 years ago. Stock in a little tech company called Innovate Tech. Kendra pulled out her phone and did a quick search. Her hands started shaking as she read the results. Innovate Tech had been bought by a major corporation 2 years ago, then bought again 6 months ago by an even bigger company. The stock options she had kept, the ones she had almost thrown away when she married Marcus, were now worth millions. She looked around the empty conference room where her husband had just destroyed her in front of his business associates, where he had reduced her to nothing more than an embarrassment to be discarded. "We'll see who has the last laugh," she whispered to herself. 3 months later, Kendra signed the divorce papers in a small law office across town. Marcus didn't even show up, he sent his lawyer instead. As she walked out of the building, she felt something she hadn't experienced in years: freedom. The settlement had given her almost nothing, just as the prenup had intended. But Marcus didn't know about the stock. His lawyers had been so focused on protecting his assets that they had completely ignored hers. That afternoon, Kendra called her old friend Jessica, who worked as a personal trainer. "I want to hire you," Kendra said. "Full-time. I want to become someone completely new." "Are you sure?" Jessica asked. "This kind of transformation, it's not just physical. It changes everything about how you see yourself." Kendra thought about Marcus's words, about Victoria's smug smile, about the way the board members had looked at her with pity and disgust. "I'm sure," she said, "I'm going to become someone they never saw coming." 6 months after the divorce, Kendra stood in front of the mirror in her new apartment, barely recognizing the woman staring back at her. The expensive clothes Marcus had bought her were gone, donated to charity along with most reminders of their marriage. Instead, she wore simple workout clothes and running shoes. "Ready for day one?" Jessica asked, bouncing on her feet with the energy that had made her one of the city's most sought-after trainers. Kendra nodded, though her stomach was full of butterflies. "What exactly did I sign up for?" "Total life transformation," Jessica grinned. "Physical, mental, emotional. You said you wanted to become someone new. I'm going to help you become the best version of yourself." The first workout nearly killed her. 30 minutes on the treadmill left her gasping for air. The weight training made muscles she had forgotten she had screamed in protest. But when Jessica asked if she wanted to quit, Kendra thought about Marcus's face when he had called her an embarrassment. "No," she panted. "Keep going." Every morning at 6 a.m., Jessica appeared at Kendra's door. Rain or shine, tired or energized, they worked out. At first, Kendra could barely keep up. But slowly, day by day, she got stronger. "It's not about being skinny," Jessica explained as they cooled down after a particularly brutal session. "It's about being powerful. When you feel strong in your body, you feel strong in your mind." Jessica was right. As the weeks passed, Kendra noticed changes beyond the numbers on the scale. She stood straighter. She spoke with more confidence. The voice in her head that had constantly criticized her began to quiet down. 3 months into her training, Kendra decided to do something she had never done before. She enrolled in business classes at the local college. Marcus had always made her feel stupid when it came to business, but she had actually been good at her job before their marriage. Maybe she still had those skills. "You want to study what?" her professor, Dr. Martinez, asked during their first meeting. Dr. Martinez, a woman in her 50s who had built her own consulting company before becoming a teacher, studied Kendra carefully. "Most people your age already have their careers figured out." "What changed?" Kendra thought about how to answer. "I spent 5 years being someone else's idea of who I should be. Now I want to find out who I really am." The classes were harder than the workouts. Kendra's brain felt rusty after years of focusing only on social events and charity luncheons. But she attacked her studies with the same determination she brought to the gym. Late at night, after a full day of exercise and classes, she would sit at her small kitchen table, surrounded by textbooks and financial reports. She studied everything she could about business acquisitions, market analysis, and corporate strategy. One evening, as she reviewed case studies about successful business turnarounds, her phone rang. It was her lawyer. "Kendra, I have interesting news about those stock options we discussed," he said. "There's been another acquisition. The company that bought Innovate Tech has just been purchased by Global Dynamics. Your stocks are now worth significantly more." "How much more?" Kendra asked, though she was almost afraid to hear the answer. $15 million. Before taxes, of course. Kendra sat in stunned silence. $15 million. More than Marcus had probably thought she was worth in total. "There's something else," the lawyer continued. "Global Dynamics is looking for investors for a new tech division they're starting. They're specifically interested in people who understand the industry from the ground up." After hanging up, Kendra stared at her reflection in the black window of her apartment. 6 months ago, she had been a broken woman sitting in a conference room, watching her husband destroy her in front of strangers. Now she was wealthy, getting stronger every day, and learning skills that Marcus had always claimed she was too stupid to understand. She picked up her phone and called Jessica. "How would you feel about expanding your training business?" Kendra asked. "What do you mean?" "I mean, what if we opened a fitness center that was about more than just working out? A place where people could transform their entire lives, not just their bodies." Jessica was quiet for a moment. "That would take a lot of money to do right." "I know," Kendra smiled. "Good thing I have some." The next morning, instead of their usual workout, Jessica and Kendra drove around the city looking at commercial real estate. They found an old warehouse in the downtown area, empty and run down but with good bones and huge windows that let in streams of sunlight. "It's perfect," Kendra said, standing in the middle of the empty space, envisioning what it could become. "It needs a lot of work," Jessica warned. "So did I," Kendra replied. "Look how that turned out." As they walked through the space, Kendra's mind raced with possibilities. This wouldn't just be a gym. It would be a complete transformation center. Fitness classes, business workshops, life coaching. A place where people could rebuild themselves from the ground up. That evening she called Dr. Martinez. "I have a business proposition for you," Kendra said. "How would you like to help me create something completely new?" By the end of the week, Kendra had assembled a team. Jessica would handle the fitness side. Dr. Martinez would develop business education programs. And Kendra would oversee everything, putting her growing knowledge and unexpected wealth to work. As she signed the lease on the warehouse, Kendra thought about Marcus. He was probably at some charity event right now with Victoria on his arm, thinking his ex-wife was quietly fading into obscurity. He had no idea that she was just getting started. 1 year after the divorce, Kendra stood in the main hall of Transform Life Center, watching as her latest business workshop wrapped up. 20 people, mostly women, were networking and exchanging contact information, their faces bright with possibility. "Another successful session," Dr. Martinez said, joining Kendra at the observation window. "That's the third one this month that sold out completely." Kendra nodded, still amazed at what they had built. The old warehouse had been completely renovated into a modern facility that combined state-of-the-art fitness equipment with comfortable classroom spaces and elegant meeting rooms. The Transform Life Center offered everything from personal training to MBA-level business courses. "Mrs. Johnson wants to schedule a follow-up meeting about the franchise opportunities," Jessica said, approaching with a tablet full of appointments. "And we have 3 more cities interested in opening their own Transform centers." The business had grown faster than any of them had expected. What started as Kendra's personal mission to rebuild herself had struck a nerve with hundreds of other people looking to change their lives. The waiting list for programs was now 6 months long. "How are the membership numbers looking?" Kendra asked. "We're at capacity," Jessica replied. "And the corporate consulting side is booming. 5 companies this month have hired us to do executive wellness and leadership development programs." Kendra smiled. The corporate consulting had been Dr. Martinez's idea, but it had become their most profitable division. Companies were paying significant fees to have their executives go through Transform's intensive programs that combined physical fitness with business strategy training. Her phone buzzed with a text from her lawyer. "Call me. Important news about Williams Industries." Kendra excused herself and stepped into her private office, a space that reflected how much her life had changed. The walls were covered with business awards and photos from Transform's grand opening. Her desk held financial reports showing millions in revenue and plans for expansion into new markets. "What's the news?" she asked when her lawyer picked up. "Williams Industries is in trouble," he said without preamble. "Major financial difficulties. The construction division lost 3 big contracts, and there are rumors about cash flow problems. Marcus is looking for investors." Kendra felt a strange mix of emotions. Part of her was surprised. Williams Industries had always seemed so stable when she was married to Marcus. But another part of her wasn't shocked at all. Marcus was good at maintaining appearances, but she had lived with him long enough to know he wasn't as smart as he pretended to be. "How bad is it?" she asked. "Bad enough that he's considering selling major assets. The rumor is that he might have to sell the company headquarters." The company headquarters. Kendra remembered that building well, a gleaming tower downtown where Marcus had humiliated her in front of the board. The same building where he had thrown divorce papers at her and called her an embarrassment. "Keep me informed," she said. "I might be interested in some of those assets." After hanging up, Kendra sat back in her chair and thought about how much everything had changed. She looked at herself in the reflection of her computer screen. The woman staring back was almost unrecognizable from the person who had sat in that conference room 18 months ago. She had lost 60 pounds, but more importantly, she had gained something much more valuable: confidence. Her body was strong now, toned from daily workouts with Jessica. Her mind was sharp from constant learning and the challenge of building a business from scratch. That evening, she attended a charity gala for small business development. It was the kind of event she used to dread when she was married to Marcus, formal, full of wealthy people making small talk while showing off their success. But tonight was different. Tonight she belonged here. "Kendra, I was hoping you'd be here," said David Chin, approaching with a smile. David was the CEO of Global Dynamics, the company that had acquired her old tech stocks and made her wealthy. They had become friends over the past year as she invested some of her money in his company's ventures. "David, good to see you," she replied, confident in her black evening gown that fit her new figure perfectly. "I want you to meet someone," David said, leading her toward a group near the bar. "This is Harrison Blake, CEO of Blake Enterprises. Harrison, this is Kendra Williams, the woman I was telling you about who built Transform Life Center." Harrison Blake was tall, distinguished-looking, with silver hair and kind eyes. His handshake was firm, his smile genuine. "I've heard impressive things about your business," Harrison said. "The combination of fitness and business training is brilliant. I've been looking for something exactly like that for my company's executive development program." As they talked, Kendra found herself genuinely engaged. Harrison was intelligent without being condescending, successful without being arrogant. He listened when she spoke and asked thoughtful questions about her business model. "Would you be interested in discussing a potential partnership?" Harrison asked. "Blake Enterprises has offices in 12 cities. We could use Transform services in all of them." "I'd be very interested," Kendra replied. "Let me give you my card." As she handed him her business card, elegant, professional, with Kendra Williams, CO, printed in gold letters, she noticed someone watching them from across the room. Marcus. He was standing near the entrance with Victoria, both of them dressed expensively but somehow looking less polished than Kendra remembered. Marcus's face showed shock as he recognized his ex-wife. Kendra smiled and turned her attention back to Harrison, deliberately ignoring Marcus's stare. "Why don't you come by the center next week?" she suggested to Harrison. "I can show you our facilities and we can discuss the details of a partnership." "I'd like that very much," Harrison said. "And perhaps you'd join me for dinner afterward? To continue our business discussion, of course." "Of course," Kendra replied, though something in Harrison's eyes suggested the dinner might become more than just business. As the evening wound down, Kendra made her way toward the exit. She had almost reached the door when she heard her name. "Kendra?" She turned to find Marcus standing behind her, looking uncertain and much less confident than she remembered. "Marcus," she said coolly. "How are you?" He looked her up and down, clearly struggling to reconcile this poised, successful woman with the person he had divorced. "You look different," he said finally. "I am different," she replied simply. "I heard about your business. Congratulations. It sounds like you're doing well." "Very well, thank you." Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "Listen, I was wondering if we could talk sometime. Maybe get coffee? There are some things I'd like to say." Kendra studied his face. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like regret. But she felt nothing, no anger, no satisfaction, no interest in whatever he wanted to say. "I'm quite busy these days, Marcus. But good luck with everything." She walked away without looking back, leaving him standing alone by the entrance. Outside, Harrison was waiting by the valet station. "Everything all right?" he asked, noticing her expression. "Everything's perfect," she said and realized she meant it. As they waited for their cars, Kendra thought about how much her life had changed. 18 months ago she had been broken and discarded. Now she was successful, confident, and standing next to a man who looked at her with respect and genuine interest. The best part was that this was only the beginning. 3 weeks later, Kendra stood in the boardroom of Blake Enterprises, presenting Transform Life Center's expansion proposal to Harrison and his executive team. The room was filled with successful business leaders, all focused intently on her presentation. The data shows that companies investing in comprehensive employee wellness and development programs see a 40% increase in productivity and a 60% decrease in turnover, Kendra explained, clicking to the next slide. Transform's integrated approach addresses both physical and professional development simultaneously. Harrison nodded from his seat at the head of the table. "The results from your pilot program with Meridian Corp were impressive. Their executives who completed your program showed significant improvements in both health metrics and business performance." "Exactly," Kendra continued. "We're not just building better bodies, we're building better leaders. The confidence and discipline that comes from physical transformation carries over into every aspect of professional life." After the presentation, Harrison's team peppered her with detailed questions about implementation, costs, and measurable outcomes. Kendra answered each one confidently, drawing on the year of experience she had gained building her business. "I think we have everything we need to move forward," Harrison said finally. "Kendra, would you join me in my office to discuss the contract details?" Harrison's office was elegant but comfortable, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. As they sat down to review the partnership agreement, Kendra couldn't help but compare this meeting to the boardroom scene with Marcus 18 months ago. "This is a significant contract," Harrison said, sliding the documents across his desk. "Transform will be the exclusive wellness and development provider for all Blake Enterprises locations. That's over 5,000 employees across 12 cities." Kendra reviewed the numbers, trying to keep her expression professional despite her excitement. The contract was worth more than she had projected for her entire first year of business. The terms look excellent, she said. When would you like to begin implementation? As soon as possible. But there's something else I wanted to discuss with you. Harrison's tone had shifted slightly, becoming more personal. I've been thinking about our dinner last week, he continued. I hope I wasn't too forward when I said I'd like to see you again. Outside of business, I mean. Kendra looked at him carefully. Harrison was nothing like Marcus. Where her ex-husband had been flashy and demanding, Harrison was steady and thoughtful. Where Marcus had made her feel small, Harrison made her feel valued. I'd like that too, she said honestly. Good, Harrison smiled. Because I was hoping you'd accompany me to the mayor's charity dinner next month. It's a significant business networking event, but I think we might enjoy each other's company as well. As Kendra drove back to Transform Life Center, she called Jessica to share the news about the Blake Enterprises contract. This is huge, Jessica exclaimed. This means we can finally move forward with the franchise expansion. How many new locations were we looking at? 25 cities to start, Kendra replied. And with the Blake contract providing steady revenue, we can afford to be selective about our franchise partners. Back at the center, Kendra found Dr. Martinez in her office, surrounded by curriculum plans for the new corporate leadership programs. How did the Blake presentation go? Dr. Martinez asked. We got the contract, Kendra announced. Dr. Martinez jumped up and hugged her. This is incredible. Do you realize what this means? We're going to be the premier corporate wellness and development company in the country. That evening, Kendra worked late in her office, reviewing expansion plans and financial projections. The numbers were staggering. Transform Life Center was on track to become a multi-million-dollar company within the next 2 years. Her phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. It was her lawyer again. Williams Industries update, he said without preamble. It's worse than we thought. Marcus is facing bankruptcy unless he can find major investors immediately. The company headquarters is definitely going up for sale. What's the asking price? Kendra asked. $50 million. But given their desperation, they might take significantly less. Kendra stared out her office window at the city lights. $50 million was more than she had, but with the Blake contract and her other investments, she could probably arrange financing. Keep monitoring the situation, she told her lawyer, and discreetly find out what the minimum acceptable offer might be. After hanging up, Kendra sat back in her chair and thought about the irony. Marcus had built his entire identity around that building, around Williams Industries and everything it represented. Now he might lose it all. But buying his company wasn't about revenge, she realized. It was about opportunity. Williams Industries had good contracts and solid infrastructure. Under better management, it could be profitable again. Her phone buzzed with a text from Harrison. Hope your evening is going well. Looking forward to dinner tomorrow night. She smiled and texted back, looking forward to it too. The next evening, Harrison picked her up in a classic black sedan, elegant but not ostentatious. He opened the car door for her, a small gesture that Marcus had stopped doing years into their marriage. You look beautiful, Harrison said as they drove toward the restaurant. Thank you, Kendra replied, smoothing her red dress. She had bought it specifically for tonight, sophisticated, confident, the kind of dress a successful businesswoman would wear. The restaurant was intimate and upscale, the kind of place where business deals were made over excellent food and expensive wine. But Harrison seemed more interested in learning about Kendra than discussing business. Tell me about your life before Transform, he said over appetizers. What made you decide to start the company? Kendra considered how much to share. She had told very few people about the humiliating end of her marriage to Marcus. I went through a difficult period, she said carefully. My marriage ended and I realized I had lost myself somewhere along the way. Building Transform was about finding out who I really was when I wasn't trying to be what someone else wanted. Harrison nodded thoughtfully. My divorce was finalized 3 years ago. I understand about losing yourself in someone else's expectations. Do you have children? Kendra asked. 2. A son and daughter, both in college now. What about you? No children. Marcus and I kept saying we'd start a family someday, but someday never came. She paused. I think that was probably for the best. As the evening progressed, Kendra found herself genuinely enjoying Harrison's company. He was intelligent and accomplished, but he also listened when she spoke and seemed genuinely interested in her thoughts and opinions. I have a confession, Harrison said over dessert. I researched Transform before our first meeting. I was impressed by what you've built, but I was also curious about you personally. What did you find? Kendra asked, wondering if her divorce from Marcus had made the business news. That you're brilliant, determined, and much more accomplished than you give yourself credit for, Harrison replied. And that you've overcome significant challenges to build something remarkable. As Harrison walked her to her door at the end of the evening, Kendra felt something she hadn't experienced in years, the excitement of new possibilities. I'd like to see you again, Harrison said. Soon. I'd like that too, Kendra replied. He kissed her gently, a soft, respectful kiss that made her feel cherished rather than claimed. As she got ready for bed, Kendra thought about how different her life had become. 18 months ago, she had been discarded and humiliated. Now she was building an empire and beginning what felt like a real relationship with a man who valued her for who she was. Her phone rang as she was brushing her teeth. It was her lawyer, calling late with urgent news. Williams Industries just filed for emergency bankruptcy protection, he said. All assets are going up for immediate auction. If you're serious about acquiring any of them, you need to move fast. Kendra looked at herself in the bathroom mirror, strong, confident, successful. Set up the meeting, she said. It's time to make an offer. The bankruptcy auction for Williams Industries was held in the same conference room where Marcus had humiliated Kendra nearly 2 years earlier. As she walked into the room with her lawyer and financial advisor, Kendra felt a sense of poetic justice. The room was packed with potential buyers, vulture investors, and business reporters. Marcus sat at a small table near the front, looking haggard and defeated. Victoria was nowhere to be seen. According to the gossip websites, she had left him 6 months ago for a tech billionaire in Silicon Valley. Lot number 1, the auctioneer announced. Williams Industries corporate headquarters, 45 floors, prime downtown location. Kendra remained calm as the bidding began. She had done her research and knew exactly how much she was willing to pay. Several investment firms drove the price up initially, but one by one they dropped out as the amount climbed. Do I hear 45 million? The auctioneer called. Kendra raised her paddle. 45 million to bidder number 23. Do I hear 50? The room fell silent. At 45 million, the building was fairly priced but no longer a bargain. Most of the investors had been hoping to get it for significantly less. Going once, going twice, sold to bidder number 23. Marcus's head snapped around, scanning the room to see who had just bought his company headquarters. When his eyes found Kendra, his face went white with shock. Lot number 2, the auctioneer continued. Williams Industries Construction Division, including all equipment, contracts, and intellectual property. This time Kendra waited. The construction division had been losing money for years due to poor management and cost overruns. The bidding was less aggressive. 25 million, someone called out. 30 million, Kendra said, raising her paddle. 35 million, countered another bidder. 40 million, Kendra responded without hesitation. The room fell silent again. At 40 million she was paying more than most analysts thought the division was worth. But Kendra had studied the contracts and seen the potential that Marcus had missed. Going once, going twice, sold to bidder number 23. By the end of the auction, Kendra had acquired the Williams Industries headquarters, the construction division, and several smaller assets for a total of $92 million. It was the largest single business acquisition of her life. As the room cleared, Marcus approached her table. He looked older than his 45 years, his expensive suit unable to hide the stress that had clearly been eating at him. Kendra, he said quietly, could we talk privately? She looked at him for a long moment, then nodded to her lawyer and financial advisor. Give us a few minutes. When they were alone, Marcus sat down across from her looking lost. I can't believe you just bought my company, he said. Former company, Kendra corrected. And yes, I did. Oh. I mean, where did you get that kind of money? Kendra almost laughed. Even now, Marcus couldn't conceive that she might be capable of building wealth on her own. I earned it, she said simply. Marcus rubbed his face with his hands. I've lost everything. The company, the house, even Victoria. She left me the minute the financial problems became public. I'm sorry to hear that, Kendra said, and surprisingly she meant it. She felt no satisfaction in seeing him broken. I know I have no right to ask this, Marcus continued, but I was wondering, the construction division still has some good projects in the pipeline. I know that business better than anyone. Would you consider keeping me on as a manager? I'd work for whatever salary you think is fair. Kendra studied his face. The arrogance was completely gone, replaced by desperation and what looked like genuine humility. I'll consider it, she said finally. But if I did bring you back, it would be as an employee, not as a partner. You'd report to whoever I put in charge of that division. I understand, Marcus said quickly. I need a chance to rebuild. To prove that I can do better. I'll let you know my decision, Kendra said, standing up. But Marcus? If I do this, if I give you a second chance, you'll need to check your ego at the door. The company will be run my way, not yours. As she walked out of the conference room, Kendra felt a strange mix of emotions. She had just acquired the empire that Marcus had built and lost. But more than that, she had the power to decide his future, the same power he had once used to destroy her. That evening, Harrison took her to dinner to celebrate the acquisition. $92 million, he said, raising his wine glass. You just became one of the largest property owners in the city. It's surreal, Kendra admitted. 2 years ago, I was sitting in that same conference room being told I was worthless. Today, I bought the building. What are your plans for Williams Industries? Harrison asked. Integration with Transform, Kendra replied. The construction division will handle our facility expansions and franchise build-outs. The headquarters building will become our new corporate office, with the lower floors converted into our flagship Transform Center. And Marcus? I heard he approached you after the auction. Kendra had told Harrison about her marriage to Marcus and the circumstances of their divorce. Unlike Marcus, Harrison had listened without judgment and supported her decisions without trying to control them. I'm thinking about offering him a position, she said. A junior management role in the construction division, reporting to someone else. Harrison raised an eyebrow. That's very generous, considering how he treated you. It's not about generosity, Kendra explained. It's about business. He does know that industry, and I believe in giving people second chances when they've learned from their mistakes. Just make sure he has learned, Harrison warned gently. The next morning, Kendra called Marcus and offered him a position as project manager in the construction division, reporting to the new division head she planned to hire. The salary was less than half what he had made as CEO, but it was honest work with the potential for advancement based on performance. Thank you, Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. You don't know what this means to me. Don't thank me yet, Kendra replied. Prove that you deserve the opportunity. A week later, Kendra stood in what had been Marcus's corner office, now her office as CEO of Williams Industries. She had kept some of the furniture but completely redecorated, replacing his dark, intimidating aesthetic with something more open and welcoming. Jessica and Dr. Martinez joined her to look at the renovation plans for the building. The entire ground floor will be the new Transform flagship center, Kendra explained, pointing to the architectural drawings. State-of-the-art equipment, multiple classroom spaces, executive suites for our corporate clients. It's going to be incredible, Jessica said. And having our headquarters in the same building will make operations so much more efficient. What about the construction division? Dr. Martinez asked. Already profitable again, Kendra reported. Turns out the division wasn't poorly run because the industry was bad, it was poorly run because Marcus was a bad manager. With proper oversight and cost controls, it's actually quite successful. As they discussed the renovation timeline, Kendra's assistant knocked on the door. Ms. Williams? There's a reporter here from Business Week. They want to do a feature story about your acquisition and business expansion. Send him in, Kendra said. A year ago, the thought of being interviewed by a major business magazine would have terrified her. Now it felt natural. The reporter, a young man with an expensive recorder and lots of questions, settled into one of the chairs across from her desk. Ms. Williams, you've gone from relative unknown to major business acquisition in less than 2 years. What's your secret? Kendra smiled. Hard work, good people, and never accepting that someone else's opinion of you is the truth about who you are. There are rumors that you were previously married to Marcus Williams, the former CEO of Williams Industries. Can you comment on that? Marcus and I were married, yes. Our divorce was finalized 2 years ago. But my business success has nothing to do with that relationship and everything to do with the team I've built and the vision we're executing. Some people are calling this a revenge acquisition. How do you respond to that? Kendra looked out the window at the city below, thinking about her answer. Revenge implies that my actions are motivated by anger or a desire to hurt someone else, she said finally. But everything I've done has been motivated by a desire to build something positive. Transform Life Center exists to help people become the best versions of themselves. Williams Industries, under new management, will be a profitable, well-run company that provides good jobs and quality construction services. If that's revenge, then I suppose revenge can be constructive. After the interview, Kendra sat alone in her office, reflecting on how far she had come. Her phone buzzed with a text from Harrison. "Dinner tonight? I have something important to ask you." She smiled and texted back, "Looking forward to it." 6 months after acquiring Williams Industries, Kendra stood before the board of directors of her newly restructured company. The board now included Jessica, Dr. Martinez, and several respected business leaders she had recruited to help guide the company's growth. Q3 results exceed all projections, she announced, clicking to the next slide of her presentation. Transform Life Center has opened 12 new locations and has a waiting list of 50 cities wanting to become franchises. Williams Construction has completed all projects on time and under budget, with client satisfaction ratings of 98%. Board member Patricia Hendricks, a former Fortune 500 CEO, nodded approvingly. The integration of the two companies has been remarkably smooth. How's employee morale? Higher than it's been in years, Kendra replied. We've implemented profit sharing, comprehensive benefits, and professional development programs. Turnover is down 70% from this time last year. After the meeting, Kendra walked through the Transform Center on the ground floor of her building. The space was bustling with activity, business executives working out alongside suburban moms, retirees taking computer classes next to recent college graduates learning leadership skills. Ms. Williams? She turned to see Marcus approaching hesitantly. In the 6 months since she'd hired him, he had proven to be a reliable project manager, keeping his head down and doing good work without the arrogance that had defined his previous leadership style. "What can I do for you, Marcus?" she asked. "I wanted to thank you for recommending me for the team leader position on the Morrison project. I know I haven't been here long, and I appreciate the opportunity to take on more responsibility." Kendra studied his face. The Marcus she had been married to would never have thanked someone for an opportunity. He would have demanded it as his due. "You've earned it," she said simply. "Your work has been excellent and your team respects you." "I also wanted to apologize," Marcus continued, his voice quiet, "for how I treated you during our marriage and especially during the divorce. I was cruel and unfair, and I'm ashamed of the man I was then." This was the first time Marcus had directly addressed their past relationship since she'd hired him. "I appreciate the apology," Kendra said. "But what matters now is the work we're doing and the person you choose to be going forward." "I'm trying to be better," Marcus said. "You and this company have given me a chance to prove that people can change." That evening, Harrison picked Kendra up for dinner at Antonio's, a small Italian restaurant they had discovered together and that had become their place. But instead of heading to their usual table, Harrison led her to a private dining room in the back. "This is new," Kendra said, noting the candles and single table set for two. "I wanted tonight to be special," Harrison said, his voice slightly nervous. Over dinner, they talked about their businesses, their families, their plans for the upcoming holidays. Harrison seemed distracted, checking his watch and fidgeting with his napkin. "Are you all right?" Kendra asked. "You seem nervous about something." Harrison laughed. "I am nervous. More nervous than I've been since I was 25 and presenting my first business plan to investors." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Kendra's heart stopped. "Kendra Williams," Harrison said, dropping to one knee beside her chair, "you are the most remarkable woman I've ever known. You're brilliant, compassionate, strong, and you make me want to be a better man every day. Will you marry me?" He opened the box to reveal a stunning diamond ring, elegant and classic but not ostentatious. It was perfect. Kendra stared at the ring, then at Harrison's hopeful face, feeling overwhelmed by emotion. After Marcus, she had wondered if she would ever trust someone enough to marry again. But Harrison had proven over and over that he valued her for who she was, not for who he wanted her to become. "Yes," she said, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, absolutely yes." Harrison slipped the ring onto her finger, then stood and kissed her as she laughed and cried at the same time. "I love you," he whispered against her ear. "I love you too," she replied, meaning it completely. The next morning, Kendra arrived at work to find Jessica and Dr. Martinez waiting in her office with coffee and excited expressions. "Let's see it," Jessica demanded immediately. Kendra held out her left hand and both women squealed with delight. "It's gorgeous," Dr. Martinez exclaimed. "When's the wedding?" "We haven't discussed details yet," Kendra laughed. "He just proposed last night." "I'm so happy for you," Jessica said, hugging her tightly. "Harrison is perfect for you." As they celebrated with coffee and pastries, Kendra felt a deep sense of contentment. She had built a successful business, found love with a man who truly partnered with her, and created a life that reflected her values and goals. Her assistant knocked on the door. "Ms. Williams? The reporter from Forbes is here for your interview about being named to the 40 under 40-foot list." Kendra smiled. At 35, she was being recognized as one of the most influential young business leaders in the country. The woman who had once been called an embarrassment was now being held up as an example of entrepreneurial success. The Forbes interview went well, with questions about her business philosophy, her expansion plans, and her thoughts on work-life balance as a successful female CEO. "What advice would you give to other women who want to start their own businesses?" the reporter asked. "Don't let anyone else define your worth or your potential," Kendra replied. "The most important business skill you can develop is the ability to believe in yourself, even when others don't." After the interview, Kendra spent the afternoon reviewing plans for Transform's expansion into international markets. They had received inquiries from companies in London, Toronto, and Sydney about bringing their programs overseas. As she worked, her phone rang. It was her wedding planner. Yes, she had hired one that morning after Harrison's proposal. "I have several venue options for you to consider," the planner said. "When would you like to schedule viewings?" "This weekend," Kendra replied. "And I want something elegant but not ostentatious. Something that reflects who we are, not what people expect." That evening, Harrison came by her office to walk her home. It was something he did most evenings now, a small gesture that made Kendra feel cherished. "How was your day, Mrs. Soon-to-be Blake?" he asked, kissing her hello. "Wonderful," she replied. "Busy but wonderful. How was yours?" "Productive. I spent most of the day thinking about our future together." As they walked through the lobby of her building, Kendra noticed Marcus leaving the construction division offices. He nodded politely as they passed, but Kendra could see him noticing her engagement ring. "Does it bother you that he works here?" Harrison asked quietly. "No," Kendra replied, surprised to realize it was true. "He's a good employee and he's genuinely trying to be a better person. I think second chances are important as long as people earn them." "That's one of the things I love about you," Harrison said. "Your capacity for forgiveness without losing your strength." As they reached Kendra's apartment building, she looked back at the Williams Industries tower, now her tower, its lights glowing against the evening sky. "Do you ever think about how different things would be if Marcus hadn't divorced you?" Harrison asked. Kendra considered the question. "Sometimes. But honestly, I think this version of my life is so much better than anything I could have imagined back then. If he hadn't left me, I never would have discovered who I really was or what I was capable of building. And I never would have met you," Harrison added. "Exactly," Kendra smiled. "Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be the best thing that could have happened." As they said goodnight, Kendra reflected on the truth of that statement. Marcus's cruelty had broken her, but it had also freed her to become someone stronger, more successful, and happier than she had ever been as his wife. Tomorrow she would continue building her empire. But tonight, she was simply a woman in love, looking forward to a future full of possibilities. 3 months before the wedding, Kendra stood in the ballroom of the Grandview Hotel, watching as the wedding planner directed staff members arranging sample table settings. The venue was perfect, elegant without being pretentious, spacious enough for their 200 guests, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. "The flowers will go here," the planner explained, gesturing to the head table. "And we'll have the string quartet positioned by the windows during the ceremony." Harrison squeezed Kendra's hand. "It's going to be beautiful," he said. "It really is," Kendra agreed. Planning this wedding felt completely different from her first marriage to Marcus. That had been about showing off wealth and status. This was about celebrating love and partnership with the people who mattered most to them. "I've confirmed the menu tasting for next week," the planner continued. "And the photographer wants to schedule an engagement session before the end of the month." As they finalized details, Kendra's phone buzzed with a call from Jessica. "I'm sorry to interrupt," Jessica said when Kendra answered, "but we have an urgent situation at the London office. The construction company we hired for the new Transform Center has run into major problems." Kendra sighed. The London expansion had been more complicated than expected, with different building codes, labor laws, and business practices than she was used to. "What kind of problems?" she asked. "Cost overruns, delays, and the local contractors don't seem to understand our specifications. We need someone there who can take control of the situation." Kendra looked at Harrison, who had overheard enough of the conversation to understand the issue. "Go," he said immediately. "Handle your business. The wedding planning can wait a few days." "I'll fly out tomorrow," Kendra told Jessica. Set up meetings with the contractors, the local transform team, and our legal representatives. That evening, as Kendra packed for her trip to London, Harrison sat on the bed watching her. You know what I love about you? He said. What? Kendra asked, folding business suits into her suitcase. You never ask permission to handle your responsibilities. You just do what needs to be done. Kendra paused in her packing. Does that bother you? I know some men would want their fiancé to check with them before making business trips. Are you kidding? Harrison laughed. It's one of the things that attracted me to you in the first place. You're a force of nature, Kendra. I fell in love with a CEO, not a housewife. The next morning, Kendra was on a plane to London. During the 8-hour flight, she reviewed all the documentation about the construction problems and developed a strategy for getting the project back on track. The London Transform Centre was supposed to be their flagship international location, a showpiece that would demonstrate their ability to expand globally. The delays and cost overruns were threatening not only this project but also their plans for expansion into other European markets. When she arrived at the construction site, Kendra immediately understood the problem. The local contractors had been treating this like a standard commercial build rather than understanding the specific requirements of a transform center. The fitness equipment requires specialized electrical and ventilation systems, she explained to the project manager, a man who had clearly underestimated both the complexity of the project and Kendra's knowledge of construction. Ms. Williams, I understand your concerns, but we've been building commercial spaces for 20 years, he replied condescendingly. Have you built fitness centers that also function as corporate training facilities with integrated technology systems? Kendra asked. Because that's what this is, not just another office building. After a tense 2-hour meeting, Kendra made a decision that surprised everyone. I'm firing your company, she announced. We'll be bringing in our own construction team from the States to finish this project. You can't do that, the project manager protested. We have a contract. A contract that you've violated through poor performance and cost overruns, Kendra replied calmly. My lawyers will be in touch about the details. That afternoon, Kendra called Marcus. I need you in London, she said without preamble. How quickly can you get here? London? Why? Marcus asked, clearly surprised. The Transform Center construction is a disaster. I need someone who understands our standards and can get this project back on track. Can you handle it? There was a pause. You want me to manage an international project? I want you to save an international project, Kendra corrected. This is a big responsibility, Marcus. Are you ready for it? Yes, he said immediately. Absolutely. When do you need me there? Tomorrow. Marcus arrived in London the next evening, looking professional and focused in a way that reminded Kendra of the man she had first met 10 years ago, before success had made him arrogant. Show me everything, he said as soon as they met at the construction site. For the next hour, Kendra walked him through the project specifications, the problems with the local contractors, and her vision for what the finished center should look like. I can fix this, Marcus said confidently. But I'll need to bring in our own crew and essentially start over in several areas. Do it, Kendra replied. Budget is less important than getting this right. Our reputation in the European market depends on this center being perfect. Over the next week, Kendra watched Marcus transform from the broken man who had approached her after the bankruptcy auction into a competent, confident project manager. He worked 18-hour days, coordinated with suppliers across multiple time zones, and somehow managed to get the project back on schedule. He's impressive, said Sarah Chin, the manager of the London Transform team. I was skeptical when you said you were bringing in someone from the States, but he really knows what he's doing. Marcus is very good at his job when he focuses on the work instead of his ego, Kendra replied. On Friday evening, as they reviewed the week's progress in the temporary office trailer, Marcus looked at Kendra with an expression she couldn't quite read. Can I ask you something? He said. Of course. Why did you give me this opportunity? You could have sent any of the other project managers. Why trust me with something this important? Kendra considered her answer carefully. Because you needed to prove to yourself that you could still be the man you were before you lost your way. And because I believe people deserve second chances when they've earned them. I know I don't deserve your faith in me, Marcus said quietly. But I want you to know that I won't let you down. You already haven't let me down, Kendra replied. Look at what you've accomplished this week. On Saturday, Kendra flew back to New York, leaving Marcus in charge of the London project. During the flight, she reflected on how strange it was that her ex-husband was now one of her most trusted employees. Harrison met her at the airport, and as they drove home, she told him about the week in London. "So Marcus saved the project?" Harrison asked. "He did. He's genuinely good at this work when he's focused and humble instead of arrogant and entitled." "Are you comfortable with him taking on this level of responsibility?" Harrison asked carefully. Kendra understood what he was really asking. "You're wondering if I still have feelings for him?" "The thought had crossed my mind," Harrison admitted. "I care about Marcus the way I care about any employee who's working hard and doing good work," Kendra said. "But the woman who loved him doesn't exist anymore. She was someone who didn't know her own worth. I'm not that person." Harrison smiled and reached over to take her hand. "I love the person you are now." That evening, as they had dinner at their favorite restaurant, Harrison brought up the wedding plans. "I know the London crisis interrupted things, but we need to finalize the catering menu and send out invitations," he said. "I know. I'm sorry this business trip came right in the middle of wedding planning." "Don't apologize," Harrison said firmly. "Your business success is part of what makes you who you are. I'm not marrying you despite your career, I'm marrying you because of everything you've accomplished." As they talked about flowers and music and seating arrangements, Kendra felt a deep sense of gratitude. She was marrying a man who celebrated her success rather than feeling threatened by it, building a business that was changing people's lives, and creating a future that was entirely her own choice. Her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus in London. "Project ahead of schedule. Opening ceremony confirmed for next month. Thank you for believing in me." Kendra showed the text to Harrison, who smiled. "That's nice," he said. "It sounds like giving him a second chance was the right decision." "I think so too," Kendra replied. "Besides, the best revenge isn't destroying someone, it's becoming so successful that their opinion of you doesn't matter anymore." The grand opening of Transform Life Centre London was scheduled for a Thursday morning in November, exactly 3 weeks before Kendra's wedding. She arrived 2 days early to oversee the final preparations and ensure everything was perfect. The center was stunning. Marcus had not only corrected all the construction problems but had managed to improve on the original design. The space felt both luxurious and welcoming, with natural light flooding through skylights that hadn't been in the original plans. "How did you manage to add skylights without going over budget?" Kendra asked as they toured the facility. "I found a local supplier who was overstocked and looking to make a deal," Marcus explained. "Sometimes the best solutions come from being resourceful rather than just throwing money at problems." The fitness area was state-of-the-art, with equipment that could be monitored and adjusted remotely. The business training classrooms featured the latest technology for video conferencing and interactive presentations. The executive suites were elegant enough for Fortune 500 CEO retreats. "It's better than our New York flagship," Jessica said, joining them as they reviewed the final setup. "The London team is going to love this space." Sarah Chin, the London Center manager, approached with a tablet full of updates. "Registration is at capacity for the opening week," she reported. "We have a waiting list of 200 people, and we've already received inquiries from companies in Paris, Frankfurt, and Amsterdam about bringing Transform to their cities." "That's incredible," Kendra said. "What's driving the demand?" "Word of mouth mostly," Sarah replied. "The business community here is smaller and more connected than in New York. When executives from major companies started talking about Transform's results, everyone wanted to see what we offered." That evening, Kendra had dinner with the London team at a restaurant near the center. As they celebrated the successful completion of the project, her phone rang with a call from Harrison. "How's London?" he asked. "Perfect," Kendra replied, stepping outside to take the call. "The center is incredible, and advance registrations are already exceeding projections." "That's wonderful. I'm so proud of you." "How are the wedding preparations going?" she asked. "Everything's on track. The flowers are ordered, the musicians confirmed, and your dress came in yesterday. Jessica picked it up and says it's beautiful." Kendra smiled. She had chosen a simple but elegant dress, nothing like the elaborate princess gown she had worn to marry Marcus. This dress reflected who she was now, confident, sophisticated, and comfortable in her own skin. "I'll be home tomorrow evening," she said. "I can't wait to see you." "I can't wait either. I love you." "I love you too." The next morning, the opening ceremony for Transform London drew over 300 people, including representatives from major corporations, government officials, and members of the international business press. Kendra stood at the podium in the main hall, looking out at the crowd of potential clients, partners, and employees. "Transform Life Center represents more than just fitness and business training," she began. It represents the belief that every person has untapped potential waiting to be discovered. We're not here to change who you are, we're here to help you become the best version of yourself. The speech was well received, with enthusiastic applause and multiple requests for follow-up meetings. After the ceremony, Kendra spent 2 hours networking with attendees, discussing potential corporate partnerships and franchise opportunities. "Ms. Williams," said a woman in an expensive suit, approaching during a brief lull in conversations. "I'm Victoria Patterson, CEO of Patterson Holdings. I'm very interested in bringing Transform to our offices in Edinburgh." As they talked, Kendra felt someone watching her. She looked across the room and saw Marcus standing near the registration desk, observing her interaction with potential clients. When their eyes met, he smiled and gave her a subtle thumbs up. It was strange to think that 2 years ago, this man had humiliated her in a boardroom, calling her an embarrassment. Now he was genuinely proud of her success and had played a crucial role in making this moment possible. After the event, as the staff cleaned up and the last guests departed, Marcus approached Kendra. "Congratulations," he said. "This is really something special." "Thank you. And thank you for making it happen. I couldn't have done this without your work over the past month." Marcus looked around the beautiful space, then back at Kendra. "I know this might sound strange, but I'm grateful for everything that's happened. Losing my company, having to start over, it was the best thing that could have happened to me." "Why?" Kendra asked, genuinely curious. "Because it forced me to figure out who I really was underneath all the arrogance and entitlement. The man who divorced you was someone I don't even recognize anymore." Kendra nodded. "I understand. The woman you divorced doesn't exist anymore either. She was someone who didn't know her own strength." "I'm glad you found your strength," Marcus said. "And I'm glad you found Harrison. He's a good man and he clearly adores you." "He does," Kendra smiled. "And I adore him." "You deserve to be adored," Marcus said quietly. "I should have seen that when we were married." The next morning, Kendra flew back to New York, leaving Marcus to oversee the London operation for another week before returning to his regular duties with the construction division. Harrison met her at the airport with flowers and a huge smile. "How does it feel to be an international business mogul?" he asked as they drove home. "Surreal," Kendra laughed. "But also incredibly fulfilling. We're really helping people change their lives." "And in 3 weeks, you're going to change your name to Mrs. Blake," Harrison said, reaching over to squeeze her hand. "Actually, I've been thinking about that," Kendra said. "Would you mind if I kept Williams professionally? I've built the brand around that name and it would be complicated to change everything now." "Of course," Harrison replied immediately. "I'm marrying you, not your name. Whatever makes you comfortable." That evening, they had dinner with Jessica and Dr. Martinez to catch up on everything that had happened while Kendra was in London. "The Forbes article about you being named to the 40 under 40-foot list came out while you were gone," Dr. Martinez said, sliding a magazine across the table. "It's a great feature." Kendra looked at the article, which included a large photo of her in her office and a sidebar about Transform's expansion into international markets. "The article mentions that you were previously married to the former CEO of Williams Industries," Jessica said carefully. "How do you feel about that?" "It's fine," Kendra replied. "It's part of my story and I'm not ashamed of any part of my journey." "Even the difficult parts?" Harrison asked. "Especially the difficult parts," Kendra said. "They're what made me who I am today." As they talked about business growth, wedding plans, and future expansion possibilities, Kendra felt a deep sense of contentment. She had built something meaningful, found love with a partner who truly supported her, and created a life that reflected her values and ambitions. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sarah Chin in London. "First week bookings already at 95% capacity. European expansion requests coming in daily. You've created something amazing." Kendra showed the text to the group and they all smiled. "So what's next?" Jessica asked. "After the wedding, after the European expansion?" Kendra thought about the question. A year ago, she would have said she just wanted to prove she could be successful. Now, success wasn't enough. "I want to build something that lasts," she said. "Something that continues to help people long after I'm gone. Transform isn't just a business, it's a movement." "And it all started with you deciding to rebuild your own life," Dr. Martinez observed. "Sometimes the best thing you can do for the world is to become the person you were meant to be," Kendra replied. As they left the restaurant, Harrison put his arm around Kendra's waist. "Ready to become Mrs. Blake?" he asked. "Ready to become the best version of ourselves together," she corrected. "I like that better," Harrison smiled. In 3 weeks, Kendra would walk down the aisle toward a future she had built entirely on her own terms. It was going to be perfect. The morning of her wedding dawned clear and crisp, with autumn sunlight streaming through the windows of the bridal suite at the Grandview Hotel. Kendra sat in front of the mirror while her stylist put the finishing touches on her hair and makeup, surrounded by Jessica, Dr. Martinez, and her sister Emma, who had flown in from California. "You look absolutely radiant," Emma said, adjusting the delicate pearl necklace that had belonged to their grandmother. "This is so different from your first wedding." "Everything about this is different," Kendra replied, studying her reflection. The woman in the mirror was confident, glowing, and genuinely happy. "I'm different." "You certainly are," Jessica said, zipping up the elegant ivory dress. "Remember when you first walked into my gym 2.5 years ago? You could barely make it through a 20-minute workout. And now you're a Forbes 40 Under 40 honoree who owns multiple companies and is marrying the love of her life," Dr. Martinez added. As they talked and laughed, preparing for the ceremony, Kendra's phone buzzed with congratulatory messages from business associates, Transform clients, and friends around the world. One message stood out. It was from Marcus. "Wishing you all the happiness in the world today. Thank you for showing me what grace and strength look like." Kendra showed the message to Jessica, who raised an eyebrow. "That's very thoughtful," Jessica said carefully. "It is," Kendra agreed. "Marcus has genuinely become a better person. I'm glad I was able to give him that second chance." "Speaking of second chances," Emma said, looking out the window, "your second husband is probably getting very nervous right about now." Kendra laughed. "Harrison doesn't get nervous. He gets excited." At exactly 4 p.m., the bridal party lined up outside the ballroom doors. Kendra took a deep breath, holding her bouquet of white roses and greenery, and nodded to the wedding coordinator. The doors opened, and Kendra walked slowly down the aisle to the sound of a string quartet playing Pachelbel's canon. The ballroom was filled with 200 guests, business associates, Transform employees, family, and friends who had supported her journey. But all she could see was Harrison, standing at the altar in his black tuxedo, his face lighting up with joy as he watched her approach. When she reached the altar, Harrison took her hands and whispered, "You're beautiful." "So are you," she whispered back. The ceremony was officiated by Judge Patricia Hendricks, who had become a friend as well as a board member of Williams Industries. "Marriage is not just about love," Judge Hendricks said to the assembled guests. "It's about partnership, respect, and the commitment to help each other become the best versions of yourselves." Kendra and Harrison exemplify these qualities, both as individuals and as a couple. When it came time for vows, Harrison spoke first. "Kendra, when I met you, I was immediately struck by your intelligence and determination. But as I got to know you, I realized that your greatest strength is your capacity to transform challenges into opportunities. You've built an empire from nothing, turned setbacks into comebacks, and shown me what it means to never give up on your dreams. I promise to support your ambitions, celebrate your successes, and stand by your side through whatever comes next." Kendra's vows were equally heartfelt. "Harrison, you loved me for who I was becoming, not who I used to be. You saw my potential when I was still discovering it myself. You've been my partner in every sense of the word, supporting my business, encouraging my growth, and showing me what a healthy relationship looks like. I promise to continue growing alongside you, to build a life together that reflects both of our values, and to love you with the same strength and determination that I've brought to rebuilding my life." When Judge Hendricks pronounced them husband and wife, Harrison and Kendra kissed as the ballroom erupted in applause and cheers. During the cocktail hour, guests mingled and shared stories about Kendra's transformation. Many of the business leaders in attendance had known her only as Marcus's quiet wife and were amazed by the successful CEO she had become. "I remember when you were just starting Transform," said Patricia Hendricks during the reception dinner. "You were so nervous about that first business plan presentation. Look at you now, running a multi-million-dollar international company." "The nervousness never completely goes away," Kendra replied. "But I've learned that being nervous just means you care about doing something well." During his Best Man speech, David Chin, the CEO of Global Dynamics, shared the story of how he had first met Kendra. 2 years ago, Kendra walked into my office with a business proposal that was so well-researched and thoughtfully presented that I knew immediately she was going to be successful, he said. But more than that, she had this quiet determination that told me she would never give up on her vision. "Harrison, you're marrying a force of nature." Jessica's maid of honor speech was more personal. "I've had the privilege of watching Kendra transform herself physically, mentally, and emotionally," she said. "But the most amazing thing about her journey is that she never lost her kindness or her desire to help other people. She could have used her success for revenge, but instead she used it to build something that lifts up everyone around her. As the evening progressed, Kendra and Harrison danced to At Last by Etta James for their first dance as husband and wife. As they swayed together, Kendra looked around the ballroom at all the people who had supported her journey. "Are you happy?" Harrison asked softly. "Completely," Kendra replied. "This is exactly the life I was meant to have." Near the end of the reception, as guests began to leave, Kendra noticed someone standing near the edge of the ballroom. It was Marcus, looking uncertain about whether he should approach. "Excuse me for just a moment," she told Harrison, who followed her gaze and nodded understandingly. Kendra walked over to where Marcus was standing. "I wasn't sure if I should come," he said quietly, "but I wanted to congratulate you in person." "I'm glad you came," Kendra said, and meant it. "Thank you for the thoughtful message this morning." "You deserve all the happiness in the world," Marcus said. "And Harrison is a lucky man." "I'm the lucky one," Kendra replied. "But Marcus, I want you to know that I'm proud of the work you've been doing. The London project was exceptional, and you've become someone I'm glad to have on my team." Marcus's eyes filled with emotion. "That means more to me than you know. Thank you for giving me the chance to prove I could be better." "We all deserve second chances when we've earned them," Kendra said. As the last guest departed and the wedding party began to clean up, Kendra and Harrison stood together in the now quiet ballroom, still in their wedding attire. "So, Mrs. Blake," Harrison said, "how does it feel to be married?" "Perfect," Kendra replied. "Though I think I'll keep being Kendra Williams at work." "Whatever makes you happy," Harrison said, spinning her around once more to the faint music still playing in the background. As they swayed together in the empty ballroom, Kendra reflected on the incredible journey that had brought her to this moment. 3 years ago, she had been broken and humiliated, told she was worthless and embarrassing. Tonight, she was a successful CEO, married to a man who loved and respected her, surrounded by people who believed in her vision. "Ready to start our honeymoon?" Harrison asked. "Ready to start our life together?" Kendra corrected. They had planned a 2-week honeymoon in Italy, not to show off or impress anyone, but simply because they both loved art, food, and the idea of exploring someplace beautiful together. As they left the ballroom hand in hand, Kendra caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror by the exit. The woman looking back was strong, confident, and genuinely happy. She had transformed not just her body, but her entire life. And this was only the beginning. 2 years after her wedding, Kendra stood in the boardroom of Williams Industries, now officially renamed Williams Blake Enterprises, preparing for the most important presentation of her career. The room was packed with investors, business journalists, and executives from around the world. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, clicking to the first slide of her presentation, "I'm pleased to announce that Transform Life Center will be going public, with an initial public offering valued at $500 million. The room buzzed with excitement. Transform had grown from a single location in a converted warehouse to an international empire with centers in 15 countries and corporate partnerships with hundreds of companies. "The IPO will allow us to accelerate our expansion plans," Kendra continued. "We project 100 new locations worldwide within the next 3 years, along with the launch of Transform University, our online platform for business and personal development education." Harrison watched from the back of the room, beaming with pride. He had been instrumental in helping structure the IPO, using his experience and connections to ensure Transform got the best possible valuation. After the presentation, as investors and journalists crowded around Kendra with questions and congratulations, she felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to find Marcus, now the Director of International Operations for Williams Blake Enterprises. "Congratulations, boss," he said with a genuine smile. "This is incredible. Thank you, Marcus. And thank you for everything you've done to make this possible. The international expansion couldn't have happened without your expertise." Over the past 2 years, Marcus had proven himself to be one of her most valuable employees. He had overseen the construction of Transform centers in London, Paris, Tokyo, and Sydney, always delivering projects on time and under budget. More importantly, he had become the kind of leader who inspired loyalty and respect from his teams. "I have some news," Marcus said. "I wanted to tell you before it becomes public. I'm engaged." "That's wonderful," Kendra exclaimed. "Anyone I know?" "Sarah Chin, actually. From the London office." Kendra smiled. Sarah was brilliant, kind, and exactly the type of strong, independent woman who would be perfect for the new Marcus. "I'm so happy for you both," she said sincerely. "When's the wedding?" "Next spring. We're hoping you and Harrison will be able to attend. We wouldn't miss it," As the crowd began to thin out, Jessica approached with a tablet full of media requests. "Good Morning America wants you for tomorrow," she reported. "And the Wall Street Journal wants to do a feature story about Transform's growth strategy." "Schedule them both," Kendra replied. "But make sure we have time for the staff celebration party tonight." That evening, Transform employees from around the world joined via video conference for a company-wide celebration of the IPO announcement. Kendra stood in the main hall of the New York headquarters, looking at screens showing cheering employees from London, Paris, Tokyo, Sydney, and a dozen other cities. 3 years ago, Transform was just an idea, she told the assembled crowd. The belief that everyone has untapped potential waiting to be discovered. Today we've helped over 50,000 people transform their lives and we're just getting started. Dr. Martinez, now the Chief Academic Officer of Transform University, stepped forward to make an announcement. "I'm pleased to tell everyone that Harvard Business School has just announced they will be adding Transform's methodology to their executive education curriculum," she said. "We're not just changing individual lives anymore, we're changing how business schools think about leadership development." The celebration continued late into the evening, with employees sharing stories about clients whose lives had been transformed by their programs. Kendra listened to story after story of people who had lost weight, started businesses, changed careers, and rebuilt their confidence. As the party wound down, Kendra and Harrison walked home through the city streets, hand in hand. "How does it feel to be worth $500 million?" Harrison asked teasingly. "Surreal," Kendra laughed. "But also incredibly fulfilling. We're really making a difference in people's lives." "You're making a difference," Harrison corrected. "This whole empire started with your vision and determination." "No," Kendra said firmly. "We built this together. You, me, Jessica, Dr. Martinez, Marcus, and hundreds of other people who believed in the vision. That's what makes it special." The next morning, Kendra woke up early and went for a run through Central Park, something she had done almost every morning for the past 3 years. As she ran, she thought about how far she had come from the broken woman who had sat in a conference room being humiliated by her husband. When she returned home, Harrison was making coffee and reading the morning news on his tablet. "The Transform IPO is the lead business story on every major news site," he reported. "And your interview requests are already backing up for weeks." "Good," Kendra said, pouring herself coffee. "The more attention we get, the more people we can help." Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. When she opened it, she was surprised to see it was from Victoria Hayes, Marcus's former girlfriend. "Saw the news about your IPO. Congratulations on your success. I always knew you were capable of great things." Kendra showed the text to Harrison, who shook his head in amazement. "The same woman who told you that men like Marcus need partners who enhance their image?" he asked. "The very same," Kendra replied. "Funny how people's opinions change when you become successful." "Are you going to respond?" "No," Kendra said, deleting the message. "I don't need validation from people who only respect success. I've surrounded myself with people who valued me even when I was starting from nothing." That afternoon, Kendra had lunch with Jessica and Dr. Martinez to discuss their plans for Transform University. "We've already had inquiries from over 200 companies about corporate training partnerships," Dr. Martinez reported. "And the individual enrollment numbers for our online courses are exceeding all projections." "What about the scholarship program?" Kendra asked. "Fully funded," Jessica replied. "We'll be able to provide free Transform programs to 1,000 people this year who couldn't otherwise afford them." The scholarship program was particularly important to Kendra. She remembered what it felt like to have limited options and wanted to ensure that Transform's programs were available to people regardless of their financial situation. As they discussed expansion plans and new program offerings, Kendra's assistant called with an urgent message. "Ms. Williams, I have someone on the line who says he's calling from the White House. They want to discuss a potential partnership with Transform for a national wellness initiative." Kendra looked at Jessica and Dr. Martinez in amazement. "Put them through." The call was from the Director of Public Health, who explained that the administration was launching a comprehensive wellness program for federal employees and wanted Transform to be the primary provider. "This would be the largest single contract in Transform's history," the director explained. "We're talking about potentially reaching 2 million federal employees across the country." After the call, the three women sat in stunned silence. "The White House," Jessica said finally. "We just got a call from the White House." "We've come a long way from that warehouse in downtown," Dr. Martinez observed. That evening, Kendra and Harrison attended a charity gala for small business development, the same event where they had first met 3 years earlier. As they walked into the ballroom, Kendra noticed how differently people treated her now. 3 years ago, she had been the unknown ex-wife of a failed businessman. Tonight, she was the CEO of a company going public for $500 million. "Ms. Williams," called a voice from across the room. She turned to see the mayor approaching with several city council members. "I wanted to personally thank you for everything Transform has done for our city," the mayor said. "The job creation, the community wellness programs, the small business partnerships. You've made a real difference." As they chatted with the mayor and other dignitaries, Kendra felt someone watching her. She looked across the room and was surprised to see a familiar face, the reporter who had interviewed her for Forbes when she was first named to the 40 under 40-foot list. He approached during a lull in the conversation. "Ms. Williams, I don't know if you remember me, but I interviewed you 2 years ago for Forbes," he said. "Of course I remember," Kendra replied. "How are you?" "I'm well, thank you. I actually wanted to ask if you'd be interested in doing a follow-up feature. The transformation of your life and business has been remarkable to watch unfold." "What angle are you thinking?" Kendra asked. "The ultimate comeback story," he replied. "From divorce and financial devastation to building a $500 million empire. It's the kind of story that inspires people to believe they can overcome anything." As the evening wound down, Kendra and Harrison stepped out onto the hotel's terrace, which overlooked the city. The lights twinkled below them, and Kendra could see the Williams-Blake Enterprises building in the distance, its transformed sign glowing against the night sky. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if Marcus hadn't divorced you?" Harrison asked, echoing a question he had asked before. "Sometimes," Kendra replied. "But I honestly believe that everything happened exactly as it was supposed to. If Marcus hadn't broken me down, I never would have been forced to build myself back up. I would have stayed small and quiet and safe, never discovering what I was really capable of. And I never would have met you," Harrison added. "Exactly. The worst thing that ever happened to me led to the best thing that ever happened to me." As they stood together on the terrace, looking out over the city where Kendra had rebuilt her life from nothing, she reflected on the incredible journey that had brought her to this moment. 3.5 years ago, Marcus had thrown divorce papers at her in a boardroom, calling her an embarrassment and telling her she would never amount to anything. Tonight, she was worth more money than he had ever dreamed of, married to a man who adored and respected her, and leading a company that was changing lives around the world. But the best part wasn't the money or the success or even the revenge of proving Marcus wrong. The best part was that she had discovered who she really was underneath all the doubt and fear. She had found her strength, her voice, and her purpose. "Ready to go home, Mrs. Blake?" Harrison asked. "Ready to go home, Mr. Blake," she replied. As they walked back through the ballroom, hand in hand, Kendra caught sight of herself in the mirrored wall. The woman looking back was confident, successful, and genuinely happy. She had not only survived being discarded and humiliated, she had used that experience to become someone stronger than she had ever imagined possible. And tomorrow she would continue building something that mattered, surrounded by people who believed in her vision, married to a man who celebrated her success, and finally, completely comfortable with who she had become. The transformation was complete. The revenge was success. And the future was limitless.